The Real Deal Show, brought to you by ebodyboarding.com and Tribe Boards. Hey guys, Jay Reale here at ebodyboarding.com headquarters. It is time, once again, for The Real Deal Show. Now, if you watch The Real Deal Show, you're probably going, what happened? You stopped recording shows. Yes, it's been several months, but I had to wait for the right person to be here. And sitting across from me is the right person.
I appreciate that's a big call.
That's a big call. That's some heavy shoes to fill there.
Or a lot of busy schedules, one or the other. Yeah, I'll take it.
This is Renaissance man Jason Bitzer. Welcome, Jason.
Appreciate
right
it.
on. We're stoked to have Jason here. Jason is a fellow East Coaster. He comes from just up the road from my area, which is Maryland. You're from New Jersey.
Yeah.
But New Jersey isn't the whole story with Jason Bitzer. It's only the beginning part of the story. And man, what a wild ride you have had since your upbringing in New Jersey. And we're going to get into all of that in this episode of The Real Deal Show. But Jason's out here in Southern California briefly, and we'll get into the reasons why. But
sure.
Jason, let's go back and start with obviously the origin story. You grew up in an area sort of north central Jersey, like Reale, Manasquan, that area. Tell me about that.
So I actually didn't grow up at the shore. I grew up like 30 minutes inland at a place called Middletown, Lincroft, Red Bank. I kind of ping-ponged a lot.
Okay.
But every summer we would go to Belmar. And as I got older, I was probably got my first bodyboard at probably 9 or 10, just like a foamy, it was called a Rainbow Rider. It was actually like one of those ones that rip your guts up, 5 and dime board.
Sure.
And I rode it for a year, and then I ended up getting BZ fins actually at an Ace hardware store the next year. And then my dad's was like, okay, this kid does it all the time. And this is funny, he won some money in Atlantic City. And you remember the Eliminator?
Yeah.
It was the most expensive board at the time. My dad was like, we're splurging. And I went into this shop called Grog Surf Palace. And we were going down Island Beach State Park. And I was like, I'm getting the best board there is. I was like, and my dad was like, I'm going to get you something. You got to, it's like, okay. And bodyboarding was really big at the time. It was like early 90s. It was as big as it can be. I was getting Riptide magazines and stuff like that. And then what happened is my dad had heart attacks. And this was funny because where I moved to, Manasquan is like the Newport now of the East Coast.
Yep.
But back then it was longliner fishermen and carpenters. It was cheap.
Like blue-collar workers.
Yeah. And my dad fell in hard times because of the heart attacks. He couldn't work. He was self-employed. So he couldn't work for 6 months. And we needed to downsize and save money. So we ended up moving to Manasquan because two things. My mom was sick of driving me in the freezing cold in April to surf because I would make her do that. I didn't even really have wetsuits. I would go in the freezing cold. I was weird, yeah. And they were like, you could bike to the beach. The school's not bad, and it's cheaper. Now it's like untouchable, but it's the last train station near New York. So that's how I got there. Is because one, they're sick of driving me a half hour to the beach in the springtime when I could surf, and two, it was cheaper. So it kind of like that's how I got to be. Was like, well, if we're gonna do it, was my mom actually made the decision for me.
Wow.
I was like, I didn't know I was 12. You know what I mean? I was like, cool, all right.
So you just went all in with bodyboarding. How did that happen? Were there older guys that influenced you? Did you have friends that did it?
Yeah. You know Action Jackson?
Sure, Steve Jackson, of course. He's been on the podcast.
So he was actually, I got to give credit where credit's due. I would say the guy that taught me how to bodyboard, this guy, Matt Edelson, who I'm still really close with. We've actually reconnected with all the stuff that's happened with my son. But Action Jackson had every bodyboard video there was. And I was 13 going into high school.
Yeah.
And I met him. I actually have the funniest story of how I met him. This is a real Jersey story. There was a place, it's demoed now, it's multi-million-dollar condos, but at the time it was called the Penny Arcade, and it was just like an arcade down at the beach. And I used to shoot pool because when I left Red Bank, I was actually like a pool hustler. This is the funniest story. So my dad, my dad taught me how to play pool. He was really good. And I could play, and I could probably still play decent, but I could really play when I was a kid. And they had to spot me the last 3 balls in 9-ball tournaments. So I used to win, and then I'd split the money with my dad. I'd get $250, he'd get $250.
Wow.
And that was like, he would spot me the $50, and then he'd be like, this is how you learn, like that. And then I would take that money, I would like lose and gamble.
Yes.
So I used to go to the Penny Arcade to hustle pool when I first moved there to meet people. No joke. Like this is when I was like,
hilarious,
I lost games too. Double or nothing. Oh wow, I won. You want to play again? And then make $10.
Sure.
Put four quarters on the thing.
Yeah.
This is literally
grifter.
Yeah. Because we were broke. We were actually broke. So I was like, I didn't have a job yet, and I started working right after. But I was like, this is the way for me to make some cash and do whatever. And Jackson was there. And the funniest thing about it is that I'm a pretty healthy guy, but when I moved there, I had no friends and was trying to meet people, and everyone was older, and they all smoked cigarettes around the pool table.
Oh, right.
So he was looking at me. He was like, Jackson at the time was vegan, straight edge, and all these things. And he saw me trying to take a drag of a cigarette, and he was like, "What are you doing?" Like, gave me good advice. Like, that's stupid. You know what I mean? It was actually a good call. And he's like, "Oh, you surf?" I'm like, "No, I just bodyboard a bit." He's like, "Oh yeah, I bodyboard too." And then this is a crazy one. He was best friends with a guy named Ben Kenny, and Ben Kenny is the bassist from Incubus.
Okay.
So he ripped Drop Knee. Like low key was insane.
Wow.
Probably the best bodyboarder from Manasquan at the time. And the reason I quit smoking is because Jackson was that was a bad idea, and I was 13 turning 14 and the weather was getting colder.
Yeah.
Somebody gave me a used wetsuit and I couldn't hold my breath in the cold water in November. I hit the cold water in shock, and it was like, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And I quit cold turkey right after that. I wasn't like a heavy smoker, but I'd smoke probably like a pack a week just like to be cool. You know what I mean? Shooting cool. That's how I quit smoking, was because of the cold water in New Jersey. Yeah, so I know it's like a condensed version, but like that's how I got to the beach, and that's how I got into bodyboarding. It was like there was nothing to do, and it's close, and I could ride bike, and it was cheap.
Right.
And then I'd won a bodyboard at a contest, so I was like, oh, I can get this for free, because all my friends were shortboarders, but I didn't have money, so I could win my way.
Couldn't afford a surfboard.
Exactly. Yeah.
So were you doing the ESA contest initially?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was pretty competitive then too. Yeah.
So your kind of peer group, and correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe some of you were in different towns in Jersey, but that generation, obviously Steve Jackson you've mentioned, but there's also Mike McGuire and Larry McGinn.
Larry was my
Steve
idol.
Pasalacqua.
He was a great competitor, and then Chuck.
Yeah, Chuck Orino. Yeah. So you had a little. Yep. There was a core group of really high-level bodyboarders. Yep. And maybe you're in slightly different towns, but you'd see each other at the events.
So yeah, I was the new kid doing ESA, and then there's this other kid, Mike Murphy, who was a little older than me, but my age.
Mike Murphy. I said McGuire, but I meant Murphy.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yes,
So, okay, you're right. Murphy. No, so I was thinking, because there was a bunch of other guys. There's a lot of good bodyboarders from that generation.
Yeah.
But Larry was like, so Mike was Larry's protege.
Yeah.
Because they're from the same town, Point Pleasant, Bay Head area, that area. I was like the new kid. I didn't grow up at the beach, so I was like trying to figure my place. I was from the Manasquan side. Chuck Orino was from Oceanport, which is Long Branch area up north. Really good waves up there too. Like that whole stretch is actually pretty good. It's just not consistent, but it's all world-class heavy beach breaks, 5 to 8 feet kind of thing, but like heavy. And then the south side of the inlet, Manasquan Inlet, Jenks, it's a little bit not the best these days, but it was world-class. It was like Puna, Colorado.
Sure.
It was real, like I go back and when it's good, I'm like, this is still my favorite bodyboard wave.
Yeah.
It is really good wave. It's just not consistent. And that's where Larry was, and Jenks was kind of going off, and the Manasquan Inlet was super good too. It was like Sebastian Inlet.
Yeah.
So you had this right, like kind of, what's that, Mandara wedge?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. Like we got it this year with my daughter, I showed her, and it's a full slingshot. So you can't really surf the good ones. So I was like, I'm not going to switch. I surfed a little, but I'm not going to switch to surfing if you can't surf these waves. Nobody was surfing them at the time when it was heavy.
Yeah.
So this was a better vehicle for the waves that were at my home. And I would like, okay, so high tide, I would go to the inlet. When the tide dropped, I'd literally paddle across the inlet to the other side and wait for the fishing boats and time the tide and stuff like that. Right. So I could just ride my bike even in the freezing cold.
Yeah, you were heavily committed. You probably had icicles.
I did, driving home. Yeah, or when I would skip school,
That's gnarly, man, because folks who, if you don't know New Jersey in the winter, the water's in the upper 30s and it's snowing sometimes and the air temperature's in the teens or 20s. It is brutal, and you have to be just at the top level of your commitment to be a wave rider over there. And especially then, wetsuit technology wasn't as good as it is today. Yeah. So I mean, it's next level. That's why I moved to California 39 years ago. Yeah. So Jason, did you foster this sort of goal through your competition where you said, well, this is what I want to do. I want to be a pro bodyboarder. Was that something you thought about?
It was kind of like your prime when I was getting into it, and the sport was huge.
Right.
So I was like, you can make a living doing this? That's crazy. First off, like somebody's paying you to do this. Two, for me, I don't know if it was like that for you, but for me, I wanted to get out of New Jersey. Not because I didn't like it. It was just I have a love-hate relationship with the winters. It's rough. Like I still surf it, and I will because I'm there now, but it was always like, okay, what's the antithesis in New Jersey? What would that be? Rainbows and pipeline, like Hawaii. So I just wanted to get to, I don't know why. I was the same kid like everybody else, like dorky kid watches North Shore once and goes, that's where I'm going to live. You know what I mean? Like when I was 9, I didn't even surf at the time. I saw it and I was like, yeah, that's cool. Whatever that is, that's what I want. You know what I mean? It just doesn't look real to you. So that was my goal. And the bodyboard seemed like it would be a vehicle to get me there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
It was like I had other people in New Jersey, like Larry was going on the trips to Mentawais, and like he was on the trip with you and Morey doing like the like Brave New World tours.
Signing tours.
And I was meeting you and Lanson and Danny and them, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like this is a cool thing. So I was like, that's what I'm going to figure out to do. I got obsessive. Like, and then I saw Andre, both when he was 17. Last year he's 99. I think he won the world title. I was like, I'm 15. That's crazy.
That could be me.
Yeah, exactly. And you know how hard it is to get there, but you're like, there's whatever it is to be around that. That's what I wanted to do.
Well, were you competing in the ESA still and going to the Easterns and all that?
So
all those big events.
I won regionals. I unfortunately missed Easterns because I didn't do one-year regionals. I did Easterns twice, and I think I placed no more than semis. And then I was real bummed because me and Mike are like best friends, but we're like, I'm good because he was good, so to say. We're rivals for sure, but we're best friends. But
Mike
we're like
Murphy,
like he. I would have never done anything I did if I didn't have him.
Yeah.
And we used to be like, we went down there and he got a wild card and he got second, and I was like, why did he get a wild card and I didn't? Like it was just always like, You know what I mean?
Yes,
I was
playing
trying
bridesmaid,
to
as they
catch
say.
up to him because he was already established. He was there. He was
Yeah.
bodyboarding in that jank since he's been 10.
Yes.
And I'm like the new guy, and I'm like, oh, this kid already rips. I got to learn how to rip, kind of. You know what I mean? So I was
Yeah.
always chasing him. Yeah. So that's how we. But I did all that stuff. Actually, like, the first contest I ever won though was a BIA at Salt Creek.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Against remember the Peruvian guy not from Peruvian, Panamanian guy with a
Giovanni. Greco.
Yeah. And I
Yes.
thought I was gonna get smoked, but I beat him, and it was pretty fun.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was
So you were coming out here to do BIA events?
No, I came on the way to Hawaii. I stopped over.
Got it.
I stayed with Robbie Crawford,
Yep.
like right out of high school. So right out of high school, I came here for like a couple weeks. There was a contest, and then I went to my first season in Hawaii from there. And I lived with John's mom's from where we're from,
Yes.
a couple towns over.
Right.
And somebody's like, hey, she rents floor space to bodyboarders and surfers.
Alex Florence, we're talking about.
So, so that's how I got to Hawaii. So
Right.
I lived there for basically on and off for 2 years.
And you babysat the boys
Yeah.
occasionally, right?
Yeah. It's probably total bullshit, but I always say like, yeah, they like slabs because I would bring them to logs. Because I was over crowds and we would be at Aukai and I'd be like, it's north and let's go to logs.
Sure.
And I'd drag his butt down there. It was mostly John, and it was only probably maybe a dozen times, but Alex, I still kind of use her way of parenting is get out of the house. Like,
Right.
get out of the house.
Yes.
You don't, she's
Not staying in the house.
Yeah, my mom sent them videos once for, like your Walmart VHSs, the like, 2 for $10, whatever. And Alex was pissed because she didn't want him watching RoboCop and all this crap. She wanted him out on the beach. I was like, sorry.
Wow, that's classic.
It's funny.
Man.
Yeah.
So just kind of in the background of all of this, which is very significant part
Mm-hmm.
of your background, is you started lifeguarding at like age 14 in New
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Jersey.
Yeah.
I assume it's initially as a pool lifeguard, and
yeah.
eventually you became an ocean lifeguard at some point?
Yeah, it was funny. So there's a place called the Atlantic Club. It still exists. And I got a guarding job during the winter when I was 13. And
Indoor pool, obviously.
indoor pool. It was
Right.
freezing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chlorine burning your eyes, like
Sure.
just going, I don't want to do this. But and then I went and worked at this place called the Spring Lake B&T because I was a decent student when I wanted to be, but surfing was such a priority that like I did crazy stuff. Like I transferred out of one class and then didn't apply into another class just so I could go home, but nobody figured it out until the end of the year. So I'd go home at 1:30 for all of my junior year just so I could surf. Like things
Yeah.
like that. I was just not a bad kid, but like figured it out, anything to
Sure.
surf, right? And this place called the B&T, I started working as a busboy and then running like every day after school because I needed credit for
Yes.
school. They gave me work credit so I could graduate on time in my junior year. Like, hey, you're not going to have enough credits by the time because you did that, but I can give my guidance counselors, I can give you work credit. And he was the GM of the place.
Wow,
Super cool
perfect.
guy. Super cool guy. I owe like half of my career to him because I made so much money at that place I could fund my career until I had sponsors.
Wow.
Yeah, and then when I was 15, you're not supposed to be a beach lifeguard. I wouldn't fly now until you're 16, but everybody goes home to college or goes back to college in
Yeah.
early August. They didn't
Right.
have anyone, and I could swim really well because every morning I would swim the pool, and they would see me do like beach runs and stuff. And the guy was cool. He was from Florida. He was a surfer. He's like, I'm putting you on the beach, but don't. So I guarded a big hurricane season, and then I just kind of ran it. And I ran junior guards there for a while, and I run a surf lesson bodyboard program there. Used to make
Jeez.
like 30, 40 grand a summer, and that's how I kind of
Yes.
lived in Porto and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good gig.
So
Really
yeah,
good.
you were immersed in ocean, in all things ocean.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
lifeguarding.
Oh, yeah.
That's where you started to hone your lifeguarding
Right.
skills. You lived in Puerto Escondido for how long? You would like one season there.
I would do so. The first year to Hawaii, what I did is with my money from the B&T, is I bought her one of those around the world tickets where if you don't stop, it was like $2,200, and I put it on a credit card, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna. And I went Jersey, Hawaii, then Hawaii to Australia. I had Larry and them were going. Remember Ricky Miller?
Sure.
So I kind of glommed onto their trip. This is a funny one, but this is like, so I did the season in Hawaii, met all the Aussies, met like Alex Leon and all that generation, all the Cronulla guys. And they're like, hey, if you ever come to Australia, here's a number. And then I bought that, I had that ticket. I'm like, I'm coming. And then Ricky and them just happened to be on a trip, and they were going to go to like do like mystics and that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like the guy just happened to be on their plane. I wasn't on the trip. It was a mag trip. And I was like, Larry was on it, I think. It was all East Coast, but it wasn't me. Like, I didn't get the invite. So I was like, this sucks. Like, I didn't, it was just by happenstance.
Right.
And then I get there and they're like, and it was Brian was too, but he was so cool. He said, just come with us. I'm like, no, you know what I mean? I don't feel right.
You
They didn't.
felt like you were.
I just
piggybacking
happened
their
to be
trip
on your
kind of
flight.
thing.
I don't want to do that. He's like, no. And I get off, and it was like immediate separate. They're on a bus, and I'm just there.
Whoa.
And I'm like, I got to call Alex. And there was another Alex. There was two Alexes at the time. I'm blanking on the other Alex. But I ended up calling the other Alex, and he was like, yeah, you can come stay. And he picked me up 2 hours later. I'm lost because I'm in Sydney, and I don't know anything. Like, I'm like, I'm only 18, too. And you're older, but you don't know crap.
Yeah,
you know
at
what I
least
mean?
you could speak the language.
Yeah,
You know
exactly.
it's your own.
And I ended up just living in the Shire for a
Yeah.
while, and bouncing houses like Ball, the other guy, he's a Cronulla local too. and then Ringa, and then I stayed at their buddies, and I just ping ponged for like a month and a half.
Wow.
And then I went to WA and stayed with Hardy. And I remember waiting in Cronulla because he was like, yeah, Mitch is going to go soon. And I was like, oh, I don't want to mess with that because I'm like, just, he's like, but you can come stay right after he leaves, right?
Wow.
I was like, okay, cool. And then me and Ryan became really good friends.
Yeah.
And I got to surf. I surfed all the waves on the East Coast, got Island and Mystics and fun stuff in, I think, Nungan once. And then I got to surf the box really good with Ryan.
Yep.
And I didn't know what I was doing. I was still holding my board on the outside. So as I'm going through this, people are giving me tips like, oh, like, you know, use your legs as train. Like King would be like, use your legs as train tracks, fix your grip. So I still wasn't that good. I was okay. I was getting better. Like I got better late. Like I was kind of off. Nobody taught me technique. I just did what I did.
Yeah.
And then did 2 months or a month and a half with Ryan. Then went to Indo on the stop. Met Murph there and a couple other guys who did a boat trip. Got like super suck. It was really good. Got a lot of waves. And then I went to China, and then I went to South Africa.
China?
Just because it was on the way somehow.
So you had no plan, you just showed up?
Yeah, I did 2 days. I was like, this ain't for me.
Beijing?
Yeah, it could have stayed longer. And it was in Hong Kong, and then I went, like, took a train, mainland.
Random.
Because I was like, I'm here.
Would you just show up and like look for hostels?
Yeah, I was all by myself. Like, everything was kind of like,
classic.
yeah, everything was like
Scrappy, man.
Yeah, scrappy, yeah. Like, well, this is the funny thing I didn't mention. When I was in Jersey, when I was a kid, the pool hustler side of me, I would tell my dad I'm going to a hockey game, but I would actually get on the train and go to New York with my buddies at 12 and like scalp tickets for Rangers games and go to punk rock shows and stuff.
Oh.
And I wasn't a bad kid and nothing ever happened, but I never had like fear of just doing stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So it carried over when I was like, are you going to travel the world by yourself? I'm like, well, no one's going to do it for me. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, I don't care. Whatever.
Well, that's cool, man. I'm the polar opposite.
Yeah.
I used to plan everything.
I do plan, but I do plan.
I want it all mapped out. Where am I going to stay? Where am I going to? How am I going to get from here to before I even?
I don't.
left?
Yeah, no, I
so
don't
I
do that.
admire people like you that have that gene where they can just like, I'm just going to fly there and see what happens.
I feel like I'm good at figuring things out live. Like when it's pressure and it's lifeguarding, you have to figure stuff out.
Yeah,
quickly.
it's a similar skill. Wow.
Yeah, so I don't know. It worked out from a young age.
Well, now I remember famously, kind of in that general time period, a photo of you at P-Pass.
Yeah, so that was a little later with Jeff.
Pohnpei was on the map as a surf destination.
Yeah.
How was that trip?
That trip was cool.
That's someplace I always ogled over.
And I haven't gone back for 2 reasons. One, I don't think I could ever get it better. So it's a long flight even from Hawaii. So from East Coast it would be nightmarish.
Yes.
But there's 2 swells that people talk about. The Shane Dorian swell and that swell. And that swell went under the radar, and they're pretty much similar. A couple of the waves I've gone there. And we only had part of it documented. I was going by myself again. Like I'm like, well, this is what happened. There was the pipe contest.
Yeah.
The waves were horrible for the pipe contest, but I ran it that year. Like nobody wanted to do it. Bob was done. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. I'll figure it out. I found like sponsorship, and I was cooked, and I hadn't surfed because I was like, and I saw a weird swell. It was going to be junk in Hawaii, and I always would track it.
Yeah.
And at the time, people were slinging United miles because you could go there for like 12,000 miles. It's a real expensive ticket, so people would buy the miles, and I had all these United miles from going back to New Jersey to see family. And I go, Jeff, I'm going. I don't know if you want to go, but I'm going. And Ray Collins, he's a famous shore break photographer.
Sure. Yeah.
We call him Vlad. He was like, I'm calling a photographer. I was like, okay. Jeff, it was so funny because Jeff was like, do you mind if I come? I'm like, yeah, I mind if the best bodyboarder in the world.
That's classic.
Just, you know what I mean? And he's such a sweet guy.
Polite.
Super, but like, it was so funny. Like, yeah, Jeff, definitely come.
Yeah, I think so.
He's like, where are we staying? I'm like, I don't know. I'll figure it out. And then somebody knew somebody on the North Shore that used to live in the North Shore that lived down there, and his was booked, but they put us up at another spot, and like, I just figured it out.
Yep.
And the first day was like 4 feet, kind of easy. Didn't think it was going to get that big. And then the next 2 days, Jeff got hurt, but it was like 12 to 15 plus.
Wow.
And a couple of my waves got caught, but I had a couple waves that like didn't get, and Jeff did too, that were like
just mind-boggling.
Yeah. No, it's the craziest thing. That session is the session I rate every other swell on. Anything, every other session, because it was so crazy.
Yeah.
And I was with the other people was just by happenstance was Ivan Florence, Nathan Florence, and Nathan Fletcher, who became he's actually my neighbor in Hawaii for like almost like 10 years before I moved to Jersey. But we looked at each other after, like, we've never seen waves do that. And that's like those guys, Nathan's probably seen a lot of Chopu since then, but at the time, yeah, it was crazy.
It kind of reminds me of like how Lagundri Bay is in Nias.
Yeah.
Since the earthquake raised the reef up, and now it's more slabby.
So perfect.
Kind of a similar, I don't know.
It does this weird ship sterns thing at 15 feet, though, that there's one wave that you see, like I was holding on for dear life. I couldn't even see. I just knew if I just kept my rail, it would let me through.
No.
It was all white water, too. And it went like this. Like I just got in it, and then it went, and like Jeff was like, because it was big for me, and he was losing it. And to see Jeff like losing it on one of your waves, I was like, it was pretty cool.
It must be heavy.
But why I said that is because I judged that swell on every other swell I've ever seen since then, and a swell I got in New Jersey when I went home, the waves were better. I swear.
How
on my
funny.
I surfed with Chuck Carino in 2023 in a December swell. I think it was December 18th. The waves were 12-foot Hawaiian and 3 times as long as P-Pass and just as wide and heavy.
Wow.
And it was it was a 6 feet, 18-second swell.
Oh, you
a
rarely
5.43.
see that on the East Coast. It's usually closed down on the
it wouldn't
swell
work,
period
but they
that
just
long.
did a dredge project. So it was a super bank.
Oh, right.
And everybody went to the closeout wave in Bayhead. I looked and I was like, that's not going to work. And I left. And we were looking at each other going, Chuck actually knocked himself unconscious. It was so heavy, flat bottom, sandbar, just dredged. At the end of the session, he luckily got pushed in and not out because it was just us out.
Yeah.
And big time surfers, and they know how to surf. But Mike Gleason, he looked at it, he's like, no way. And he's charged off the wall. He's like, no way. He's like, and he's right. You couldn't do it unless you towed in. It was insane. Best waves I've ever seen in my life, except for pipe.
Huh.
It's crazy.
So now, okay, so you had relocated to Hawaii. You were kind of based out of Hawaii. Were you still drawing a salary or some kind of pay as a bodyboarder at that point?
Yeah, so I was always had to hustle a salary with bodyboarding, like piecemeal it. So I hit a deal with Body Glove after a while. I rode for Ion, which was Wave Rebel, and that was the first time I got like a check, besides a travel fund. But the cool thing about Ion at the time, it was like a small salary, but it wasn't unlimited, but they didn't really it was a bigger company, so they were like write-offs or travel, marketing expenses. So I basically, that's how I lived in Mexico so long. Because if I was away, I could submit. So I would work the summer, make a bunch of money, and then I would travel and just submit receipts and
get reimbursed.
I think I made $800 a month, but I lived for free because I was constantly, I lived in 3 months in Puerto, and I would just travel. So it was just it was like kind of like a credit card.
Right.
Well, off the basis of my 30, 40 grand I'd make during the summer, and I'd just kind of rotate that and live on the road, and then go to Hawaii for the season until I met Beta, basically. And I would just do that. That was my thing. Do a couple contests, do a couple free surf trips, and then work.
Well, so then at some point in the mix of all this, you weren't content to just be a bodyboarder and a competitive bodyboarder and a pro bodyboarder. You took it upon yourself to try to better the sport by being an event organizer. You started doing, you started running these like mini tours for bodyboarding. Talk about that.
Yeah, so, well, like anything, that bodyboarding is not going to carry you forever salary-wise. And I just was like, I need to learn business. I understand bodyboarding. It needs help. If I can figure out business in this sport, I can probably figure out business. You know what I mean? That's my mindset. It's going to teach me something. And I really liked seeing bodyboarding, what do you call it, the jamborees? Yeah. So that's where I was like, we need that. I talked over to Jeff. I was like, we need that again. So we did the Waimanalo event. So I started the Keiki Ocean Fest, and that's Jeff's still running it. So he picked up, he helped me in the second year, and then Hubboards was kind of coming through at that time off of his BZ run. He was starting to do it, and then it became the Hubboards Keiki Ocean Fest. Yeah. And we still we've always helped each other. It was just great to do, and that was the warm and fuzzies. And then I was like, okay, well, we have the IBA World Tour that's great, but we don't have a lot of athletes. We didn't have Tanner. We didn't have how do we foster the next generation? You know what I mean? You need competition to get good at competing. So I started doing the USBA, and that's where that came from. And I always kind of wanted to showcase Jenks as a real wave because I always thought it was, besides the wedge, is the best bodyboard wave in America, in my opinion. But the wedge, you can't run a contest. It's too hard. You're never going to get a permit. Jenks, I knew the owners, the Storinos, their family friends, one of the sons bodyboarded, and I kind of helped them with bodyboarding. So I was like, they were cool about it. So I was like, I can get Jenks. And then Corey Carrera was running an event at Sandy's he needed help with, so I could put that on the tour. And then I just ended up getting Imperial Beach and then moved it to Huntington. Yeah. So I just kind of was like a 3-stop summer tour, try to mix in street culture. I got Scion and other stuff, try to mix worlds. Yeah. And it worked for a little while, until I had kids, it worked,
So that kind of dovetails into you meeting Beta.
Right around the same time.
Yeah, how did that happen? Didn't that happen in New Jersey? Yeah, you were back there visiting or something?
I did a contest in Brazil. She wasn't there. She decided to go to college. She got a scholarship to go to Fairfield, Connecticut. Oh, wow. We wouldn't have met there because I spoke no Portuguese, so I would have been and I actually was not dating, but I was kind of seeing her arch nemesis at the time, so that wouldn't have worked either.
Ooh,
we'll go to that one. But I got off the plane that night before I met her, and a friend of Paula Barcelos, he got my number from Paula Barcelos because me and Paula are really close. Yeah. He was like, hey, my buddy's living in New York. He wants to surf. Would you take him to your wave? I was like, yeah, I'm sure. And she just showed up with him on the train. So I picked him up with the train. I'm half jet lagged, not jet lagged, but just tired. And then I felt horrible because it was October. And for me, it was warm. But for this poor Brazilian girl, it was freezing. So I was like, they had to take the train back through Penn Station, which is 2 hours, and then another hour to Connecticut. I'm like, do you want to just take a shower before you go? My parents' house is right here. You guys want to rinse off before you get on the train? That's going to be miserable. And she just thought I was the sweetest person ever because she's freezing. Yeah. And I'm like, man, I was like, it's a common courtesy not to be it's cold. Not for me, but 3-2 in October, starting to break. Yeah. And so we just became friends, just surfing. We did couple contests in Hatteras. I stayed longer because she was there before I went to Hawaii. And then we started dating like 3 months later. And then she could extend her visa a month with school. So she came with me because I was going to move back out to Hawaii. Yeah. And then I moved to Brazil for a couple months, and then we got married. We got married quick, like within a year.
Where in Brazil? Is this where she's from?
She's from Macaé. It's Rio.
Okay.
And I went down just because, like,
what beach in Rio is she?
It's Macaé. So it's nobody's ever heard of it. She's like, it's like Manasquan. It's like nobody would ever know there's waves there.
Wow.
It's not Copacabana.
Yeah.
It's 2 hours north. It's still Rio State.
Okay.
It's gotten bigger because the oil companies have gone there, but it's like a couple fun little waves, but really nothing special.
Okay.
Nothing like Rio size, just fun.
Yeah.
Like they would go to Rio and Niterói and Itucoatiara and all that stuff. But she was from a nowhere town, and yeah.
And so did you pick up some Portuguese on your
I can speak now, but not then. No, not at all. Now because the grandma lived with us for a long time, and I didn't want to be made fun of, so I had to learn it. Yeah.
But she was fairly fluent in English when she came over to
Grandma?
go to school.
Oh, no, Beta, no. Not, somewhat. She could speak, but like we always joke. I always thought like, only time I ever thought I would get a girlfriend is because I could make them laugh.
Not with her.
Now, but it took me like 15 years because the sarcasm and the English.
Sure, it didn't translate.
So yeah, you'd have to explain your jokes. It was horrible.
Right.
I was like, oh, it must be cute then. Like I don't know because it's not
Right.
that.
I can see that. Well, she saw you as a guy with a motor and a provider, which is attractive to women.
She wanted me to move to Brazil though. She had the degree, I didn't.
Wow.
She has her master's degree. I was like not that. Like I was like you'd think because I have energy and I do stuff, but she like formal education's way higher than me. Yeah. She's smart. Yeah.
Now her degree is in what?
So it's environmental science and biology. So she was an environmental scientist in Hawaii and other places. Yeah.
Oh, so she actually worked in that field over there.
For like 12 years, 13 years, and then she went into conservation as a dog trainer for invasive species, which was like a hybrid.
Wow. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So you guys, you started building a life in Hawaii, and the lifeguarding career. Kind of you had those skills and obviously the experience from your days in New Jersey, and eventually you became like one of the lifeguards on the North Shore, which is an elite group of people. Yeah, people that have a set of skills that are very hard to come by. Yeah. Even some of the best surfers and bodyboarders in the world don't have those skills. How did this happen?
Well, lifeguarding is like I looked at bodyboarding. There's vehicles in your life that can carry you places. Yeah. I was lucky because lifeguarding in Hawaii at the time, they had contracts. So it's a point of contention because contract lifeguarding, you get insurance and you get benefits, but you worked a lot. You still work 5 days a week. But for me, it worked because I still had a check from bodyboarding. And the other thing about it is like, if you're going to be a contract lifeguard, if you're NA, not available, you're not available, you're not available. They can't do anything about it. So they're like, I'll work 20 days straight, but then there'd be a contest in Chile and I'd be like, I'm not available for the next 2 weeks. So I could still have a job, but do my thing.
So it gave you that flexibility.
Not the best for someone raising a family, but good for in my situation. Like example was our anniversary, September 16th is our anniversary, and I'm sitting there at a lifeguard party and they're doing their 2 week schedule, and my buddy just goes, yeah, they're about to get an insane swell in Fiji. And I looked at my mile account on United and I checked, and my lieutenant's right there. I'm like, I looked at Beta, I go, we're not available the next 2 weeks. Can you get off? She's like, yeah, I might get paid from her job, but we're slow right now. I could take off. Yeah. So we're like an anniversary trip, we're gone. Yeah. And she was like, Fiji? She didn't even know what cloud break was. She has no clue. But that's how she like, Beta would just like get in a bag with me. Like, here, we're going. Like, I just like, you're going, you bodyboard, you're fine. Sure. Yeah, that kind of thing. And we did that all the time. I'd be like, okay, or I'd call up Bodyguard like, hey, there's this contest, I can get off, and they're like, cool with it, and they were like, yeah, go, that kind of thing. Yeah.
So you still had one foot in the pro bodyboarding door while you had the other foot in the lifeguard door.
Yeah. And I would moonlight on the North Shore, but I wasn't on the North Shore. So I'd work usually weekends when they needed fill-ins for the vets, and then I would be based in like either Sandy Beach, Eastside, or Waianae. Yeah. So and then when I went full time, I got a position up there for 10 years.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a long list of bodyboarders who became top-level lifeguards.
Fred
Booth, Ben Severson, you know, Spencer Skipper. The list goes. Guilherme Tamaga.
Yeah, Tamaga. I actually got him into it. I was like, you should do it. Like, why not?
Yeah. So, and I got to believe, obviously, you're bodyboarding, comfortable in the water and wearing fins. That's a huge part of lifeguarding, especially on the North Shore. Having the skills to run in a pair of fins into the water. Yeah, it's huge. Translates well, but you, was there a special set of qualifications that enabled you to be able to lifeguard on the North Shore as opposed to, say, Pokai Bay on the west side, which is a mellow
Totally. I think it's different now. Every generation says it's like, you know, they always say like this generation sucks. I hate to say it's true. It's why I'm going to be honest about it. It's why I quit when I got a job offer is because I was 41 at the time doing all the work. Yeah. And I was like, I'm guilty of it. We're all guilty of the Instagram world and everything, but it was like, why are you here? A lot of it. And so when I came in, when I would work part-time up there, it was game time. I knew like the vets don't do rescues unless they're backing you up, and that's for your benefit, but you go.
Yeah.
You go. And so I never didn't. I had a good eye for it. Like, my ADHD probably works for lifeguarding because I see shiny little things and I know there's a problem. I'm like, that's a problem. So I pick up on stuff. I can be talking and see stuff. Like, so people always would trip on me as a lifeguard because I could be holding a conversation, but I gotta go. And they'd be like, I didn't think you were paying attention,
Right. Yeah.
but I can actually multitask pretty well.
Yeah, sure.
So the vets would be like cruising and I'd be like, oh, and they'd be like, oh, good eye. How'd you see that? I saw someone get hurt and that kind of stuff. Like, and they're just, but I never made them work.
Yeah.
So when it was time to go full time, even though like, maybe the captain or other people were like, I don't know about Bitzer. Like, well, the guards wanted me to, because they knew I would do the work for them. They knew I would pick up the slack. I wasn't going to leave them hanging. Like, they did their 15 years. It's like they're in their sunsetting. Like, they don't want to be doing a YMA, a 12-foot shore break rescue. They don't want to do every rescue of pipe, but they also don't want to go to the retirement tower. So they have the knowledge, and they can still do the rescues, but it's like, bring the 28 to 34-year-old that has experience that would still do the work. You know what I mean? I'm 45. I got 10 years left. I'm just trying not to break my hip. Like,
sure.
It's just, I get it.
By the way, you snuck in retirement tower.
Yeah.
Can we mention where that might be?
I would say, and there's nothing wrong with it because I've got 10 years left. If I ever go back to Hawaii to finish it, I worked Pokai Bay. I'd work Pokai Bay to finish the year. Yeah.
Somewhere where
now
there's
there's Sharks Cove.
Surf.
So maybe now, but when I was there, that didn't exist. But Sharks Cove, it's still kind of sketchy. But if you're preventing enough, you should be preventing more than rescuing. So it could be a retirement beach.
Yeah.
But North Shore is not like, they used to say Elite E, but Elite E is so busy that I don't think it is.
It's the Doheny of Hawaii. A lot of people teaching their kids how to surf.
Yeah.
And some gnarly currents when the swell is bigger.
And the rescues are pretty standard there, like you know where you go, but you can get into some bad stuff when it's big.
I believe it.
Yeah, so I don't consider it a retirement beach at all.
So you were working in Hawaii as a lifeguard. You and Beta were married. You decided to start a family. And Numa was born. What year was that? Sorry
She's 2013. We were actually in Kailua at the time for my wife's job. I was commuting to the North Shore. Oh. I actually got really severely hurt at that time when she was about to get born. Out of all things, I was really into CrossFit at the time, and I did a pull-up workout at work. And I can say this now, but I didn't say it then because I didn't want to ruin any issues for the guards. And I got to the 67th of the 175 pull-ups, and I slipped because of sweat. It was too big of a bar. I usually do it on like these small bars, and it was one of those bars that you put in for your grandma in the shower, and it had foam, surfboard foam. And I just I pushed off a kipping push-up, and my grip broke, and I double tapped my head. And pipe was like the best it's ever been. The guy that passed Ricardo, whatever, he got the wave of the winter the next day, and I just never did CrossFit again after that because I got a concussion, and I decided to go back to the east side because I was like, if I claim this that I got hurt at work working out, nobody's ever gonna be able to work out again. Oh, right. So I knew my kid was coming. I know it's gonna be busy. I worked so hard. I'd only been up there 2 years to get a position. Yeah. And I was like, my kid's coming and I'm hurt. I can't be up here. Like I'm like because I was getting the bright lights. I was getting a little eggy. I was like, I knew what this was. I got to fix this. And it was kind of early on. Like people were starting to do concussion protocols, but I was watching what Navy SEALs were doing, and I'm like, I'm gonna try that at home. So I went ketogenic, and I went I was doing these TENS machines on my brain, and then I wrote a book, and I wrote a book to reorganize my brain. So I left the North Shore reluctantly, but I knew it's what I had to do. Because one, if I claimed it as a workman's comp, nobody would be able to work out at work, and if they don't pay you enough not to be able to surf and work out, I would have ruined it for everybody. So it was like, my boss knew what happened, and I said, he's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I'm good. I was like, I think I need off tomorrow. And then the second day, I was like, hey, can you transfer me to the east side? And he goes, yeah, there's a spot over there. So I just worked Kailua for like 2 years.
Calm water. Giant lagoon.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that worked out.
I didn't surf much either for that year.
Yeah.
I didn't go up to the North Shore for at least a year because I knew it was bad. I saw other people that had that happen to bad concussions, and they had another one, and it was like,
it was cumulative.
And I was like, I didn't want to. I knew enough to you gotta fix
you gotta lay low because you needed to be there for Numa.
Yeah, exactly. It was good timing, because I couldn't be selfish. Yeah. And I was like, so all I did is when she slept, I wrote a book just to do stuff and just to organize my brain.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
Why not? I'll just write a book.
I always wanted to.
How did you publish it?
I self-published, and then I forgot, Austin Macaulay picked it up and they published it after.
Wow.
I did it myself on Amazon. And then they did a re-edit, because I can write, but my grammar's bad.
Well, so hold on. You self-published, so you sold the thing on Amazon. Who printed it?
Macaulay, Austin Macaulay.
So you sent this manuscript to this company. They made actual books. Yep. Sent them back to you, and then you shipped.
They did it direct. No, they did hard copies. They did it through Amazon. It was 99%. Yeah. Okay. So it's not as bad these days. It's not as bad to make.
Yeah, but then a publisher picked it up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was cool. Yeah, I still wanted. It's more of a movie script, but I wrote it to do that, and then I just haven't had time to. Yeah, so maybe I'll submit it one day.
That's
It was more like, don't care if you make a dime. just do it to get it out of
my
system.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot of things going on in your brain, and you just have to get them out.
Well,
even if it's not a for-profit thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to publish a book.
Yeah, well, it was more, there's a lot of bad stuff going on in Hawaii at the time. And as a haole guy, you can't really, like, I'm not from there, but I lived most of my life there.
Yeah.
For me, it was a way to say it without being some dumb haole complaining about Hawaii. Because I know the Hawaiians are thinking the same thing. There's too much pesticides, there's too much corruption, there's too much military that's not giving, there's too much bullshit. And there's too much intersections going on that are like composing forces. And I saw it for what it is, and I saw it ruining a lot of people's lives. So it was a way for me to, like, through a fictitious story, kind of talk shit on the government there, just all the things that go wrong there, because it's a great place.
Sure.
The people are great, but the stuff that gets manipulated, how the land gets manipulated, how the people get manipulated, it was like a way for me to, like, vent, because I've kind of like a punk rock mentality, like I want to talk shit when I want to talk shit, but also doing it through, like, a vehicle, not like directing it at me. You know what I mean? That's how I kind of did it. Yeah.
Well, you know, the good thing is that, you know, a lot of haoles that move to Hawaii, they don't I won't say immerse themselves in the culture, but they don't understand where Hawaiians are coming from.
Yeah, exactly.
And the history that happened when the U.S. government took over Hawaii, and the still deep resentment that is harbored by a lot of Hawaiians. And if you don't go in there understanding what's going on in Hawaii, you're missing the plot.
Totally.
And you're on the outside.
Yeah.
And very few haoles become kama'ainas where they, you know, they respect what the Hawaiians have gone through and what they in a lot of cases are still going through. And you know, I mean, you've been there, like you said, most of your adult life, and you know, being humble and respectful of the community is so key over there, right?
I would have skipped over this, but the class that I came in lifeguarding just randomly, it had amazing West Side heritage, second generation. So Kamakani Froseth, so his dad was the guy that made the Wally, the hot curl. Awesome guy, like salt of the earth kid, but I'm this Jersey guy, like it took a little minute. Sure. And then Keone Keolano, who I still consider one of my best friends, we don't get to talk all the time, but like I see him, it's like, you know, same as yesterday. And I went to Waianae right away. So I got through my class. That class happened to be on a TV show called Beach Patrol.
Oh, okay.
And it was like one of those things that got paid big bucks to do it, but we were like the experiment. And it was like kind of funny because we didn't really give a crap, but we were just like hamming it up for the show, like, and just we were getting thrown into heavy stuff. They made us jump out of helicopters. We don't even do that anymore. Like all this stuff they kind of did, but we've kind of bonded over that. And the one thing that was cool, they picked up that I wasn't afraid to surf. Yeah. So they're like, oh, okay, like, he's from Jersey, but he's like, and then when I went to Waianae, Keone kind of like didn't protect me, but he also was like, he put it to me this way. I remember him saying like, look, like you're going to get fucked with. You're going to be fine. I'll get your back. But if something happens, don't back down. Right. So it was all like, if you want to survive, you're going to have to show that you can survive on your own, but I won't let you die. That's basically what it was.
Yeah, right.
And I never pussied out in the waves, so to say.
Yeah.
And I never backed down. I was super sweet, super humble. Yeah. But if somebody kind of punked me in the wrong, I'd be like, look, we can do this and get it over with. And Jersey style, like, yeah, we'll be friends later, but you know, just don't jump me. Fine, if that's what you want, but I'm not coming at you from anything from respect. Yeah. But I also learned a lot being from Waianae. Like I met Ben Severson, I knew him from, he used to give me leashes when I was like 13, but I actually like became friends with Ben. Dean Marzol, the bodyboarding thing totally helped me for yokes and all, and tumbleland and all that stuff. Right. And they're just really good people. Like they're like really, really like to this day, like the best people I know on the planet Earth, the West Side people. Yeah. So I kind of like, when I left that experience after 5 years, I wasn't a North Shore guy. I was actually a Waianae guy. Like, you know what I mean? As far as like who I hung out with and who were my friends with,
the
you know what I mean?
Yeah, West Side, North Shore, I get it.
And it was just different. So it was like, I had a different perspective on Hawaii than you would if you went straight to the North Shore, which a lot of guys did, or straight, you know, they got the tower that they wanted. I didn't. I did my rounds. I worked every single tower from Kailua through Waimanalo, back through town, every tower multiple times before I got a position at Pipe in Waimea. Like, so it wasn't like, oh, this kid just got, you know. Yeah. There's a lot of, just like bodyboarding, I got better later. Yeah. I wasn't good in the beginning. I had to grind, you know. That's
well, you paid your dues is what it comes down to. Yeah. And you mentioned earlier, we're going to come back to this thing that you mentioned earlier. You got to a point where you're like, okay, I'm done, the new generation, and you got an offer to work at Waikai Lineup. To run it, essentially, right?
Yeah, that's a crazy story. So I was consulting for safety for them. Yes. I saw this industry as like, maybe, but I'll get to surf these waves doing lifeguarding. So what I did, this is funny. Before James, which we'll get into at the end, I'm assuming, but before I got an offer from the U.S. government to teach lifeguarding in Sri Lanka and Barbados.
Wow.
So I had to make a program to teach USLA-like and stuff that I've picked up over the years to these guards in Sri Lanka and these guards in Barbados to help tourism as like a U.S. aid outreach program to help their economy, because there's drownings in these places, lots of them, because lack of swimming, lack of lifeguarding. So I did this whole program. We were about to go. it didn't happen because the first time we were supposed to go to Sri Lanka, the president got ousted and had to go to Malaysia. We were supposed to fly that day, and we are like, oh, the SEALs were like, nope, because they have like guys down there, and they're like,
yeah, no. I think this is when I was going to the Maldives.
Yes, yeah, I was pinging you. Yeah, you're right, exactly.
Because I flew through it, through Sri Lanka.
Yeah. And I was like, yep. And I was like 6 months before. I was like, how's it going now? Because we might go back.
Yeah.
But I had the program, and then what I did is I adapted it to surf parks. So I started speccing because I did the lifeguarding for Bellows Air Force Base. I did a bunch of like private stuff for tourism. And I started learning how to write SOPs and EAPs and doing stuff more like corporate side, hotels, because that's how I survived too. I had that business called Safety Services that I would train lifeguards and do their emergency action plans. There's so much aquatic activities in Hawaii. And I did that for them. And then I got an offer the weekend of the Eddie. They needed a director of surf and they needed all their safety stuff done. It wasn't like planned. So this is funny. If you look back, there's an HBO Sports documentary on North Shore lifeguards. They just happened to be at the beach that day. I was in contact with them, but none of this stuff even made any sense. Like Walsall was doing interviews. I wasn't planning on it. They were doing their stuff. And that day they were at Waimea. And that generational thing happened. And I'm never going to mention names, but this is why I took the job offer that happened after this rescue. This kid from UH had a float suit, couldn't make it in. Another guy's lifeguard's son from the west side made it in perfectly. I looked, he couldn't make it in. He's in the corner. And I was like, I got to get this guy. So I went and we took a 20-footer on the head. I got him tubed. And not to sound rude or anything, we made it, but no one came. No one backed me up. And the ski came after we got, I've been in big surf. Like, been in scary. I've never been afraid for my life. We got hit by a 20-foot closeout. Freak set, because it was only like 12 to 18. It wasn't that big. It wasn't 20 foot. And this bomb set landed on us. We got the tube shot in the air. I held on to him. I ducked over him under another left. They show the left in the HBO Sports thing. And I came out and just HBO Sports was there. And they're like, how was that? And I was like, yeah, that was heavy. And I wanted to beat the crap out of my partners, to be honest with you, because they didn't paddle a board out to me. The ski came, what happened, no fault of anybody, the radio was off on one. The ski that usually doesn't come to Waimea ended up coming, right? But I've had a million rescues. That was the heaviest rescue of my life. Didn't have a job offer then. That night, that was a Friday. The Eddie, I think, was on a Sunday. Waikai calls me. They're like, hey, do you want a job? And I'm like, I'm not going to leave a 15-year career for less than what I'm getting paid here. I have a pension. They're like, well, what if we gave you 82 grand a year? And I'm making 62 lifeguarding. I'm like, done. Yeah, I'm done. So I just,
I'll pay for my own health insurance.
Well, no, they had health. It was benefits, everything.
Benefits
it was just like,
top of the bigger salary.
And Beta really wanted to take this job doing, and she did. We were kind of short on cash at the time because she left her job in Kailua, sick of the commute, and took a job training the dogs for scent detection for the coconut rhinoceros program. So she took this lesser paying job that was more of her passion. So I needed to fill the gap anyway. So I was like, okay, that was a sign. You know what I mean? I'm out. And then I did it. And then the last thing I ever did in lifeguarding, like formally, was Terry Yahui called me and said I could work with the Hawaiian Water Patrol because I wasn't working on the beach.
Right.
Because he knew that another guy, Brian Phillips, retired to do stunts.
Yeah.
And he called me. He's like, hey, we heard you resigned. Do you want to do a farewell party? I was like, that's your thing. He's like, no, come. Like, because I just was all impromptu. It just happened.
Yeah.
And it was really crazy because I wasn't really planning on leaving lifeguarding, but it was like, I almost died, and I was kind of over being like a 41-year-old lifeguard at Waimea, 3 days a week there, doing it, and I just I really didn't feel backed up, where I never had that feeling. I knew even if it was life or death, someone was coming, and it was like, no one came, and I was like, okay, I'm out.
So I have to ask just about that specific incident later, after the smoke cleared, and you saw the guys that were working with you that didn't back you up. How did that conversation go?
I learned a long time ago in life, you can't get blood from a stone. So
did they make excuses?
They just did a good job. Oblivion.
And you didn't call them out and say...
No, because I had called people out in nice ways for years. And somehow, in my opinion, they always found a way to not take the criticism and then lay blame back at you, like the mirror effect. Yeah. So I was kind of getting sick of like just generational nonsense. To be honest, that's just what it was. And I'm not the only one. Like, you could talk to a million guards and they'll tell you the same thing. You know what I mean? But they're 5 years from a pension. And I had a job offer. So I was like, okay, well, I can't change them. I can only change me. I'm done. And it was a real quick, like...
And at this point,
I teared up. I was like, I can't believe I'm doing
born,
it.
So now you had 2 kids.
Yep, he was
to be there for.
He just turned 3.
Right.
So he was at the Eddie. They came down and photos of him like at the Eddie watching, like we're pulling up his skis and stuff, and he just had turned. He was a toddler. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So then the Waikai thing happened. Mm-hmm. You took the job.
Yep.
You weren't there long.
Well, I was there a year, but what happened is 2 weeks in, he got diagnosed with cancer out of nowhere. So it was weird.
Was he having symptoms?
Not really. Not until the 2 weeks that we went into the hospital. So he's a growing boy.
Yeah. Tell me how this
it happened
came
abruptly.
About.
He just stopped walking.
So his legs were paralyzed.
Yeah, he just he's tough, man, because his pain threshold is like otherworldly, because what he's gone through, like I couldn't do as an adult. But what I thought he was a whiner. I thought he was like, oh, this kid's just like whining for his mom. He's a toddler, he wants his mom, it's a boy thing. And he's growing, so there's growing pains. And then one night, he was like excruciating, he's sweating in bed, he slept with us a lot. He would come in pain at 2 a.m, we'd get him back to sleep. 2 a.m, we have to take him to the hospital. They're like, oh, we don't know what it is. Give him Tylenol, bring down the inflammation, blah, blah, blah. They send us home after a couple of overnights.
Scans.
No scans yet, because they're not thinking, they don't go to that first.
At that age,
they're like, maybe it's synovitis. He did just have a cold. Synovitis is fluid in your hips. I didn't even know this thing, because you don't even know what you know, kind of thing. I was like, oh, hopefully it's synovitis. And then I actually took him to the Buffalo, because I was in a gap period to start that other job.
Yep.
So I had 2 weeks off, luckily, before I really started. I was working, but like I had a gap. And the Buffalo Big Board contest was on, and he was looking great. Like normal James, he runs, like he plays through anything. He's wild. So I bring him to the Buffs contest. He's doing slip and slide all day. He's running up and down the beach. That night, his hips hurt again. I'm like, shit, I think we're gonna have to go to the hospital again. And then we're there a day, and then there's no oncologist there for any reason. There happened to be one on the Wednesday. I think we went on Monday, we're there at night, and then we're like, she came in, she's like, I don't think so. He looks so good, but we're just gonna do a bone aspiration just to rule it out after doing ultrasounds. And then came back, it was 89% of his bone marrow was stage 4 neuroblastoma.
Wow.
Yeah, and the tumor they found, it was only the size of my pinky nail, but it metastasized. It was less. It was like a third of my pinky nail on his left adrenal gland, but it had already hopped into his bone marrow, and that's how it goes.
Yes.
And so I had called work, and I'm like, I still had to train everyone to start. I launched the whole thing during that time frame.
Because you were only 2 weeks into the job.
Yeah, and it was just launch period. So that's why I went to the Buff contest, because I never had weekends off. Now I remember from lifeguarding.
Yeah.
But because now I was Monday through Friday until launch,
yeah,
I had weekends off.
Yeah.
So I actually got to do the Buff contest. I never could. And it was just weird. And then so I started, what I would do is I would go in early. I'd work till like 6 o'clock, late, like a 12-hour shift, and then I'd go to the hospital and sleep in the hospital in in Kaiser first, and then we transferred to Kapiolani. And I did that for like 3 weeks. In the time period, we were trying to figure out, because they didn't know what to do with them there. The treatments it was like, neuroblastoma is different. They don't really have good treatments. They're like sterile death and maybe, or this and that and maybe, and 30%. I don't want to go into it, but it's tough. Yeah. Stuff that your brain goes, what? Like, my wife's in shock, and it was heavy. And Hubbard actually was one of the only guys that visited me during that time frame. He came with his kid, his sweetest guy, brought him presents, and it was cool because the bodyboarding community really showed up. Yeah. Noah showed up, like all the guys really but visiting Jeff was like vividly, like brought him books and food, and it was really cool. But we had to get to New York, because in our mind, I talked to someone through a friend in New Jersey that knew somebody from England that flew over with the same thing. And I'm learning about the disease and trying to figure it out. And I just knew New York, that's where we got to go. Sloan Kettering. Yeah, MSK for this.
Yes, which is a well-known cancer center.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we didn't have insurance, because I was in gap between jobs.
Oh, wow. So
they're like, you're not going to go. You have Cobra, but you're on Kaiser. Kaiser's out of network. You're not going to go to MSK. I'm like, I'll pay out of pocket. They're like, it's going to be millions of dollars. I'm like, I'll figure it out. But we're like stressing, sending scans and stuff via overnight mail, because they didn't pour it into the systems through like the Epic system or whatever they use now.
Yeah.
I had to mail like DVDs, and I like broke into places with the like the RNs that do the back end stuff. I'm like, hey, can I just do this? I'm going to FedEx if they need it, because they can't give us a diagnosis unless they see the scans.
Yeah.
And we're out of their network, and I'd have to do all this crazy shit like at night. And they shouldn't have done that with HIPAA. They're not allowed to really give me the hard, like it was weird the way they did it, but we did it. I was like ripping things apart. And what they did is, until my new job, luckily, insurance kicked in that March. So as soon as it kicked in, we're going to New York. So they monitored the treatment in the first month in Hawaii. And then as soon as March went through, we did the treatment there. April 4th, we were on a plane in New York with 4 boxes, and we shut down our house. Yeah.
So you just made the decision, we got to be by this place.
Yeah, well, it was like,
because the treatment's going to be ongoing for who knows how long.
Well, I still didn't know that what this was. It's a very tricky disease. It's not a very normal cancer. That's why I'm so passionate about getting people familiar with it, because it's like an aberration. It's weird. Everybody's is a little different. It always starts on the adrenal and it ends up different places. But until like 2014, it was like no chance, right? And then they came up with this immunotherapy that only MSK was doing in-house called 3F8 Naxitamab. Really painful, but you need like special forces nurses to do it, because it's so intense for that hour that most kids can't do it. They just, like they're literally choosing death over the treatment, because, and the chemo didn't work on him. The surgery was amazing. The surgeons were what they were meant to be. He was chemo resistant. It worked a little, but I already saw like that's not moving the needle, because they have a score like, to 25, and he was at like a 19, and it dropped like marginal. He did 2 rounds of the immunotherapy. He cleared on the scans. Did great, because it was super heavy treatment, and then he relapsed that February after again.
Is that common with that
It
type
is.
of cancer?
It is. It's sad because usually it goes away
relapse.
permanently and it doesn't come back, and they monitor for 5 years, or it comes back.
Right.
But luckily, because of Waikai being so sweet, they let me. I did about 4 months where I'd fly for 5 days work and fly back between treatment.
Wow.
And I was like, I still have a job. Okay, what do I do? I saw what was happening in New Jersey. It was like I saw it's going to be untouchable. So I bought a house while I still had a job in my hometown, Manasquan.
Yeah.
And it was probably the smartest, luckiest thing I ever did, because I just was like, we're probably going to be here. And my wife was like, what are you doing? Like, we're in the middle of this. Like, we don't know. We're probably going to go back. I'm like, we're going to be here. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I was just like, this was before he relapsed. I did it in, I bought it right away. I bought it like we got there in April, and I went down and started putting sight unseen bids on houses in June. And one house fell out of escrow because it had mold, stachybotrys. You can't do that with kid with cancer.
Sure.
And the next house, the lady goes, hey, I'll give you $100,000 off the house because this is the max I can do, but you got to help me move. And I got to leave all my furniture here that I don't want. And I was like, okay. So I got a 40-foot container, and I just demoed the whole house by myself and ripped out. It's crazy, ripping up rugs and nutsest thing I've ever done. 18-hour days, demo work, just to get it clean. We slept on like a tatami mat the first night he got back from the hospital, but there was new carpet and new paint. And it was clean, you know. It wasn't like looked like a house from the 70s, but it was clean. Yeah.
Now, obviously, having family support,
It's
is
hard.
that part of it back there? Is that
No.
did that help?
Not to anyone's fault. It was great. No, I will say my uncle let us stay there, and immediate family, my mom's too old, so I'm more of a help. Like, I'm on that side of the fence.
Sure.
So there was nothing on that side immediate. My uncle was super sweet. We lived there for a month in between treatments, because you can take a ferry from Monmouth Beach area, Atlantic Highlands, straight into New York. So they would take the Sea Streak in. And then another angel family heard about our situation. They gave us another month in Monmouth Beach, actually, in Rumson, which is like the wealthiest area of New Jersey. They just said, hey, we're in Florida, just use our house. Sweetheart. So I owe a lot of people. Like, that's why I try to pay it forward and help other families, because like strangers, mostly strangers. Like, example with that house, I was painting, and some guy called me, the friend of that person, said, hey, I heard you're on tough times. You need any help? I'm like, hey, man, I know you're busy, like, so don't worry about it, but I'm painting tomorrow. And he's like, okay, I can paint. And that's all he said. This guy shows up, and he looks at it, he's like, when's your son go back into treatment? And it's like Tuesday. And I'm like, oh, it's Thursday. And he goes, okay, go back to your son, we'll get this done. I didn't know he owned a painting company. And he just whited out my whole, my whole house.
Wow.
The wife's calling. Sorry.
Oh, she's like, you guys almost done?
Yeah.
So, man, it's just been a whirlwind of doctors and treatments and hospital stays.
And fun. We just keep living. Like,
I see you guys make the best of a really horrible situation. And, you know, I just talked to James an hour ago, and
he looks great.
Seems unaffected.
He played down at Trestles for the last 4 hours, and he's going to surf Doheny tomorrow or something.
So you are, I mean, you're just, you're doing it the way I think any parent with a kid would like to be able to do it. You know, the times when they're not in treatment, make their life fun and good and all that.
That's all you can do.
And, you know, and at the same time, your daughter is like a competitive surfer now. So you're trying to, you came out here for her to compete.
Yep, at nationals. Yeah, so, that was a weird one. She surfed in Hawaii, but she wasn't really into it. And then I feel like it made her look, she got to the East Coast, it's like it defined her as someone different. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's, where do you fit in? Who are you? What are you doing? You're this person from Hawaii. It wasn't like a cool thing. It was kind of like people goofed on her for it. They would go, you're from Hawaii, like say weird like comments, or just, you know how kids are, 9-year-olds.
Sure.
And so she kind of like leaned into it, and then she started surfing winter last year, and she got decent, I wouldn't say good, but like if you can surf in a 5.43 there, you're committed. And like everything, I think in my mind, I see everything else on the other side of commitment. Like, talent's great, but I've seen a lot of talented guys burn out. But if you can commit, you can get somewhere. Maybe you won't get, because you need talent and commitment, but if you can commit, you can get out pretty far.
Well, she has the gene that she got from you, which is like that obsessive, you know, desire to do that sport that she's now got a spark in her, you know, in her eye for.
She's good in the water. That was the thing. She wasn't the best surfer, but I had her at Waimea and like Pipeline since she was little, duck diving and keiki.
Right.
So she's not scared. That's why I call her Gnarly Numa, because like she's pretty nuts. Like,
oh my gosh, that's so cool. Well, I know your family's waiting for it, but I want to talk as we get close to wrapping this up about Never Off Duty, which is kind of a passion project for you, right?
Yeah, it took us. This year I had to, I'm going to bolster it back up. I had to take a little year off because of James. Yeah. But that was a way to give back, honestly, to Waianae, because there's a lot of kids I saw on the beach that might not get an education, but I didn't want them to live on the beach their whole life. They're awesome in the water, so I started giving them free certifications so they could do a job at the water park and then build skills, maybe become an EMT or a lifeguard. And that's what I think it was in the first 3 years, we did 200 certifications. We've done over 1,000 free now. Yep. So that's, and Jersey Mike's, they gave us 60 grand to start it. I put up 17 grand of my own money, and then Jersey Mike's gave us 60 grand to run a grant, and that's what we used for the last like 5 years.
Wow.
So not really like anything I make money off. It was just I wanted to, lifeguarding. I felt always saved my life.
Yeah.
So I wanted to like use it as a vehicle
So
to help.
I mean, essentially, just so people know, you've taken up the cause of trying to extend the pay hours for existing lifeguards.
It worked. I never got to enjoy it. It
Yeah.
happened 4 months after I left Hawaii, and now they're on 410s.
Wow.
Yep. And there's some of it's going to 312s. I heard, but that
So
was
lives are being saved
Yeah.
every day now because of partially because of your efforts.
and a lot
but-
of efforts. Yeah, Brian
Yeah.
put on a lot of people, but yeah.
And you also train lifeguards all over the world, including at the wave pools here in California.
Yep.
We were talking about that before
it's
we
fun.
started the podcast.
Yeah.
And how cool. You get to be like sometimes one of the first bodyboarders to
All
ever
of them
ride
so
some
far,
of these wave
except for
pools,
Waco,
right?
because I was like, oh, Waco, and that's when I got into it. But
Yeah.
everyone that's opened up so far in the States, I've been the first bodyboarder.
Yeah,
to ride
and
it,
I saw one clip when this is back when Atlantic Park
Yep,
opened
yeah.
of you doing some air on.
Yeah,
some
I did like a
section
straight air,
wave.
and they were testing. It was funny too.
Yeah.
This was funny.
I was like, that's the first person I've seen bodyboard, Jason Bitzer again.
Yeah, they have that wave out here now too, but that pool's smaller, and they're
Yeah.
like, let's throw them that weird wave. And the funny thing was, they were in the commissioning phase,
Yes.
and that wave only can run on one side of the wave garden, and it broke the wall on the other side because it pushes.
you're
And I was
kidding.
like, oh shit, did I just stop
Wow.
their opening? Because it was after training, we're all done. They're like, you want to catch some waves? And I was with like all the, Cam Rich, all these really good surfers. I was like,
Yeah.
you want me to boogie? Like, I'm not gonna surf with you guys around. I don't want to embarrass myself. They're like, yeah, go boogie. And I like did a couple waves. I got a couple good barrels and stuff, and then I did an invert, and that wave just broke the wall. And I went, I was like,
way.
yeah, they fixed it pretty quick, but I was like, did
Yeah.
I just ruin the bodyboarder ruin their
Oh,
opening?
funny, man.
Yeah, it was like I just kind of like.
But then they ended up figuring it out.
Yeah, I
'cause they
figured it
had
out.
this- that was it a stab high event
yeah,
there?
yeah.
in
And that's the
Virginia
wave they
Beach?
use now. Yeah.
Right, and I saw they were running that at Desert Surf as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, they are. Yeah. And then I
yeah.
actually got as the first bodyboarder to surf the slab at Palm Springs,
Oh,
which
right.
was sick.
Wow.
That thing was so good for bodyboarding. I couldn't.
Yeah.
I was like, my brain just started going like.
One of the perks of the job.
Yeah,
there
like
for
I'm
you.
just like, where are we going next? Like
Yeah,
that's where I was. Yeah,
that's what I wanna
was
know.
like, can
What's-
I design a wave? Like, you know
what
I
is
mean?
your next wave pool?
Jersey?
job?
We're building one. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're building one in Jersey right now. Yeah.
Do we have any details that you can share? Where
Yeah,
in Jersey?
yeah.
What tech?
So it's Manasquan, Wall, New Jersey. It's
Okay.
technically Wall, New Jersey, where I was born.
Big surfing population.
Huge, like 14,000, and it's 2 minutes from my house. And I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. It looks like we're getting close.
Outdoor only?
Outdoor only to start, but we do want to do a bubble and a smaller. We want to do 2 pools over time. So
Okay. And what's the tech?
Surf Lock. It looks like it's going to
Okay.
be for Surf
John
Lock.
Lock.
A bigger version of it, of what's going
Sure.
on. But yeah, it's an insane property. I personally, you always kind of like bet on your own horse, but I think it's going to be the best and location and pool there is because
Wow.
I'll get to design some of the waves, and
Yes.
and also for New Jersey itself, it makes New Jersey a different place to live because Jersey has good waves, but it's like scarcity is value. It's very rare.
Yes.
So now we're calling it shore surf. So
Okay.
yeah, like the shortest thing about it is that there's
Of
waves.
course.
Yeah.
Well, it's the other thing is to me about wave pools. It's not just the fact that you can answer that if you want right on camera.
Honey,
Just say, hey,
we'll
we're
be
still-
done 1 minute. I'll come out. I'm sorry.
He's in trouble. I made him in trouble.
Yeah, we're finishing right now, and I'll come out. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, I'll write it.
Got him in trouble. I can edit that.
I'm
out.
always in trouble. It's okay.
But yeah, just to touch on what you just said is, for me, like one of the selling points of wave pools is not just the fact that now there's consistent waves, but people are tired of battling in the
it's
surf.
great. It's great. Yeah, it's insane.
And wave pools, it's you take your turn. Everybody gets
Yep.
the same.
It's like you're
amount of
bowling.
waves. Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like you're on.
right.
You know what I
It
mean?
takes
Yeah,
that
yeah.
element out of it.
Yeah.
So it's
I think
it's a growing
honestly,
space.
I thought I would be like, because I'm such a I'm a waterman. Like I like to be in the water, but
Sure.
I have more fun sometimes in the pool with like my group of friends or
Yes.
just sharing with a stranger. Like the stoke, you're like, this is
Yeah,
insane.
it's a tight
it's
environment.
Insane. It's
Everybody's
so fun.
close together.
And like I got my daughter here. She's like, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
Well, good for you, man. Anything you want to share at the end here? Anyone you want to thank here as we wrap this
Well,
up,
I
Jason?
want to congratulate you for your Hall of Fame for East
Oh,
Coast
thanks,
Surfing.
man.
I thought that was awesome. My
Thank
buddy
you.
Scotty Dorr was in the same
Yes,
batch. I grew up
great
with him.
guy.
Super good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, super good guy. So that was really cool. Thank you, obviously, for that generation, because if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't have had a career.
Thanks, man.
The bodyboarding itself, thanks to Tom Morey, because like a lot of lives have been changed because of it.
And today, by the way, the
Yeah.
55th anniversary
Is it
of the
today?
invention of
No
the
way.
bodyboard,
That's-
the boogie, as
Yeah,
it's called.
awesome. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I feel honored to be here.
Good
for it.
timing.
Yeah. Cool. I'm glad I did it. That's cool.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, no, bodyboarding is amazing. I hope it never dies. I honestly think the pool's going to make it bigger. Because we were talking about youth programs to help at-risk youth, and you're like, well, it is the best way to get people in the water.
Sure.
So it has a home across the nation with these surf pools.
Agreed.
Because you can take it anywhere, but you can get anyone under these surf pools. So you're going to take
Yeah.
people in Chicago. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. I love to hear it,
Yeah,
man. And
it's cool.
Jason, Renaissance man, writer, lifeguard, business guy, father, bodyboarder,
confused
surfer.
dad.
Confused dad, me too.
Yeah.
But thank you for the time, man.
Yeah, man,
I really appreciate it.
Thanks,
I don't know
Jay.
how long we went, probably an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's a long one.
But it's good, man. It's you know, we got to catch up, and literally we could probably go for another hour because there's so much to talk about. But we'll, you know, some other time we'll get some more stories from Jason.
Yeah.
And,
I feel honored, Jay, to be your first one back in a while.
Oh yeah, it's literally it's been 6 months, so I'm stoked to be you know, to be back on the Real Deal Show, and I'm glad that you were the guy to bring me back. So folks, thank you for watching the Real Deal Show. If you watched on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you listen to the audio podcast, thank you for that as well. We will see you the next time we do another Real Deal Show, hopefully not 6 months from now. And on behalf of Jason Bitzer and myself, we'll see you in the surf.